Hey guys, what's up? It's the Chaos Prophet, and I just want to say before this video starts, there are some minor audio things, so just ignore them. I apologize for that, but I hope you enjoy the video, and this has been the Chaos Prophet saying don't get lost in the chaos. Later guys, and be free.
Hey guys, the Atomic Gamer here, and I'm here with my friend Chaos X Prophet.
Hey guys, what's up?
Today we're going to be reviewing and talking over a specific system that was big back in 1980s throughout the until 2000s. We're going to be talking about the Sega Genesis, or otherwise known as the Mega Drive.
Yes, we are.
So the main focus on the system back then, I think it was we were all into the whole cartridge thing, but we were more going for something new and unique. As its successor, the Super NES, Sega was trying to do something unique, as they were rivals back then. What could it be?
Well, right, they were trying to make themselves a better console than what they did. The Atari was out way before then as well, and I think that the Sega, especially, took off, and Sega and Nintendo basically took charge of the gaming industry and really kicked it off.
Oh yeah, they made it big back then, but the gains would vary. Like, it was all 16 bits, and then we would go to 32-bit. The Sega was known for releasing 32-bit first with its add-on content, which is the 32-bit pack, and it was supposed to make the games more cleaner, more better, and more viewable for the audience.
Yeah, that's right. They wanted to make things a lot better, and they made some really good games, and they were trying to do things a lot more innovative, but and they did for a very long time, and the console did really well. In fact, they made like 2 or 3 versions of it, right?
Yeah, 3 versions of it. That was, I don't know. I don't think it was highly necessary, but kind of interesting that they would keep on rehashing the same thing. I know the third time they got it was the 32-bit. It was just its own system, small one, but they could have stuck to the normal Sega Genesis.
Yeah, I just think they just wanted to always keep going forward and making something better because they had to, so that they can stay on top.
I think they were just going for, same thing, but different design models trying to compete with Nintendo. I mean, like, it's more to compete with design, but people want to see how it runs.
Right. And at least for me, I think it was split evenly down the middle. Half of my friends had Super Nintendo, and half of the people like me had Segas. And it just depends on which one you got, but I kept on with Sega. I didn't really went to Nintendo until N64. So
that's whenever it blew Sega out of the water at that point. But they weren't really into releasing that many systems. They would be like a certain amount of years, and then they eventually stopped.
Yeah, that's true.
It was, I think the last system they made was the Dreamcast.
Yeah, I think so. The Dreamcast was a weird system, but it sold pretty well, I think.
Pretty decent. It was going because it was like CD based, and that was the main thing that was popping back then. But something was off. I mean, like, it had internet access, but people weren't that into it.
Yeah, I think for that system especially, it was just the games. It wasn't. I've heard that the games weren't very good. I don't think I had a Sega Dreamcast. I think I had a Sega Saturn at one point.
Oh yeah, but it varies. But the one thing that didn't quite make sense was the fact that you could take the regular Sega Genesis and attach it to the actual Mega Drive disc add-on, or the I think that was the Sega Saturn that you could attach
yeah,
to.
attach this.
Yeah, and they just turned into a big old leech type system because you could plug the Sega into the Sega Saturn, and then you could plug the 32-bit into the Sega, and then you could plug the power cord. It was just so many cords, so many attachments just to play a game.
Well, I didn't understand it either. I guess it was supposed to make it more powerful. Like, I didn't, or just combine the two. I didn't really understand for the fact that they were two different systems. Like, why are you combining them?
It made no sense. They could have took Sega Saturn and just went off with that and then keep going with that. That could have been a better move. But no, they wanted to keep the old system and then just attach it.
Yeah.
But we do have to admit that Sega Genesis did have a lot of good games, not to mention all the great ones. But we're talking about the best ones, which was Sonic the Hedgehog, number one. Classic games like Toe Jam and Earl, or the wacky ones like Earthworm Jim.
Right. You're forgetting like Streets of Rage, and also you're forgetting the X-Men were very popular on the Sega for a while as well.
Oh yeah, those are the best, but I'm more talking about the ones that were made by Sega, not the movie-based ones.
Right. I think the ones that I had as a kid growing up, a lot of the off-brand ones, but also definitely like Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I think I had the first game as well, but the second one was better for me. And I also had Sonic and Knuckles, because Knuckles was one of my favorite characters for at least Sonic. So
I think that's what spawned all the Sonic the Hedgehog and Knuckles, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, where you can just take the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge and just do all that.
Yeah, I think they really took off with that. It was a great system, like I said, and so they noticed that Sonic was selling a lot. And when they added Knuckles, when they added Tails, when they added everybody, it just took off after a while. So, but although nowadays they have way too many characters.
It's mad, crazy, but still, that's their mascot, and they chose to stick with it, even though they eventually are gonna kill Sonic, starting with Sonic Boom.
Yeah, didn't they recently just come out with a game that was really, really horrible? And it was that Boom?
Yeah, that was Sonic Boom. It was unfinished.
Yeah, that seems to be a theme lately in our gaming history of unfinished games, but that was just really bad by Sonic. It was almost like they gave up on that game halfway through.
I know at one point Alex the Kid was the mascot for Nintendo. I meant Sega, sorry. And they just went ahead and made Sonic to compete with Mario and Nintendo.
Yeah. Although Mario, as you know, like went way, way up.
Way up there.
Yeah, it's kind of sad though, because Sega was a good company, good everything. You know, they had good games, and I played a lot of them. Like I said, I played Earthworm Jim, I played Streets of Rage, I played Sonic, I played Toe Jam and Earl, I played everything. Comic Book Zone, I think it was. I think that was the one.
And it seems like those were targeted most for kids and all, but the main thing Sega wanted to go for was teenagers, as they did with the Blood in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that was a really hot issue for a long time when the Sega came out, because I believe the Sega version had blood, right? And the Nintendo was just completely avoiding that because they didn't want that in their people's homes, which didn't make a lot of sense, because I believe at that time too they had Star Wars, or a short time after that at least, and when you got eaten by like the sandworms or whatever, I think there was blood in that, so it was weird that they had that.
Yep, and Mortal Kombat was also the game to actually have other games have ratings.
Well, yeah, after you rip somebody's head off, you pretty much have to have a rating after that.
That's true. That's what started most of it.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of have our thanks to give to them for that. Otherwise, I don't know. And I think there was, I think, if I'm correct, on the Super Nintendo, I think there was a code that you could unlock by doing a certain thing to unlock the blood. Or maybe that was on Sega as well. I can't remember, but I remember that being a thing.
Yeah, it was on the Sega for the code and everything. Yeah, it was a thing. You could still do it if you own the Sega and the cartridge.
Yeah, that was kind of funny to me that you have to really unlock it. And now, on later games of Mortal Kombat, they have an option to turn the blood off, which is funny.
Well, it's to appeal, I guess, to everyone, but I don't know. The game was meant for teenagers, maturity, people higher up. But still, parents want to freak out about it.
Yep.
And that's how it goes, but like they're saying, they tried back then. And their slogan was the number one, Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah. There was a lot of good games for both systems, but I think if I had to go back, I would still choose the Sega. It was just a better system. It was just had better games. So
overall, Genesis number one for a short time, very short time. Number one, but still in the end, Super NES, Nintendo, and all them dominated. And eventually they went out. But seeing today, I don't know when it was or if it ever happened, or I may be wrong about it. I don't know if Nintendo and Sega collided and they're now one company, but a lot of Sega games are on Nintendo. And Nintendo lost its iron grip on the market before Sega Genesis came out too. Nintendo had 90% of the market. Genesis took a foothold and got around 40% of the market.
yeah, I kind of remember Sega kind of merging with somebody. I know that Xbox eventually picked them up as well, so that they can have it on their system. But yeah, they went out, and Nintendo, I don't know how it happened. I don't know if it was, the other side of the world that really picked up on it. But even today, I mean, they're not doing as well as Xbox and PlayStation, but they're doing pretty good for themselves. I wish Sega would have continued too, because as I've said and you've said, we've started with Sega. It's just kind of sad that they're not in the picture anymore.
Well, yeah, they're not there making consoles, but I think the people who make the games are still there, seeing that, as you could take Sonic, for instance, he's multi-platform now, as in recently, him being on the Wii, on the Xbox, and on PlayStation. Yeah,
that's true. I can see that they're also fading Sega out, and Nintendo, if they're not careful, is going along that path as well. But a lot of the Sega games, I mean, you don't see Earthworm Jim. I'm surprised that they're probably going to be making, if the rumors are true, a new Toe Jam and Earl. So they're trying to bring back certain games, but a lot of those are fading away, and Sonic is the only real, he's going down with the ship, it seems like.
He's almost out of here. It seems likely. Sega just recently, out of the blue, announced that they're looking more for smartphones.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's Nintendo's trying to do that same thing as they announced smartphones. And I know smartphone is today's generation, but you're a gaming company. I don't think that's going to work well. It may work well for a while, but they're not completely switching. But I don't know, as for Sega, what they said recently.
Yeah. Well, remember, Sega and Nintendo were both companies that really only made gaming. Sony didn't do that. They have their hands in other things. Same with Xbox. And I think after a while, they either run out of ideas or they just, they can't keep up with the times and they have to go out of business. It's a really weird concept when you think about it. You think those two companies would be thriving the most since they only do games.
Oh, yeah. But the downfall came and Sega went out. Not with a boom, but just with a mystery.
Yeah, I was watching this other podcast, and I didn't really know about the history of Sega too much after I left it when I got the N64 and kept going from there. But apparently they hired one guy. They switched out one of the main guys in Sega, and when he made a different system over in Japan and they wanted it over here or something, he screwed up royally and made the Sega name kind of bad, and I think that's when it started to go down, but I can't remember what time era that was. I don't know if it was right before the 2000s or whatever, but he pretty much screwed up and made everything go downhill from there.
That's depressing. I mean, like, I haven't heard of that. Who was the guy's name?
I don't exactly remember, but I know he was supposed to be one of the major guys because they thought he was really good at the time. And then he made a console and he made a few different games, and it was just, he took it in a different direction, and the company was like, whoa, that didn't work. What happened? And so I would have to listen to it again, or at least do my research, but I remember there was one guy that like pretty much messed it up for everyone else, and I think they got rid of him after a while and got a new guy, but by then it was kind of late.
Man, that's something to think about. How Sega could be around still today if that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. And now I think he works for oh boy, I think he's either working as a game developer, any kind of game developer, or he's working for one of the bigger places like Xbox or PlayStation. I can't remember now, but he's not doing major things. He's just now a lower guy because no one will trust him anymore after they screwed up Sega.
That's true. Oh man. But seeing Sega took a lot of missteps in the past that led to its downfall. The Sega Saturn focused on 2D, not on 3D. That's what I didn't quite understand. Like, it was trying to push for something that was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, I kind of see that. And when the Sega was being made, the Genesis, it was great, and they had a good thing going, and I think they wanted to keep going with the cartridge. I think that's what they were trying to do, and then when they moved into CDs and stuff, they didn't know how to cope. So they didn't know how to do it better than anybody else, and I think around that time too, eventually, was coming PlayStation. So, you know.
Well, I think mainly for the fact that them going to CD was the storage issue, as them not having enough memory for them to keep going with cartridge for their update and everything. So they went with the compact CD and just started with that.
Yeah, that wasn't a great thing to do, but you know, they didn't know what else to do. I don't think the cartridge would have worked anymore, even though I think the N64 came out with the cartridge and did quite well. So it's kind of weird that they couldn't keep it together long enough to keep going, because after a while they were just fading into the background.
It's probably for the fact that CDs are way cheaper and cartridges were more expensive to make.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah.
And they just wanted to keep their sales up and marketing and stuff.
Yeah.
It was all crazy.
It was. And to be honest, I remember a lot more games for Genesis than I do for Sega Saturn or for any of the other Sega consoles. That's kind of, I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's sad. I don't know.
We won't never know. I mean, like, Sega does have a lot of mysteries. They could have gave us some answers, but, you know, they didn't know how to play their cards right.
Yeah, and to be honest, they probably should have folded into Nintendo, even though that's kind of a bad thing. I might get flack for that. But if you notice that you're going downhill, they kind of like burnt out, and then they were like, well, anybody can buy us. And I forget who really bought them, but it was just like, why didn't you just go with the guys that were actually, I know they're your rivals, but they're making money and they know how to do stuff, and both of you were smart companies. You could really make some good games, and now your competitor is now failing in nowadays ages because they're stuck in the past.
That's true. It would have helped them out a lot, but seeing how Sega had to play it dumb, look where they are now.
Yeah, well, it was good while it lasted. I mean, they, like we said, they made a lot of good games, especially back in the day. And luckily, they did make Sonic. I think if they never made Sonic, they never would have taken off, because they didn't have a solid game where people were like, yeah, Sega, except for Sonic. So
I think that's, besides the other one, yeah, that's the same one that actually went to be what it is today. And that's what's holding them up today, is Sonic. If Sonic goes downhill, I could see the company going the rest of the way.
oh, well, if it goes downhill, they just made Sonic Boom, and they had a game before that wasn't very good either. It's I mean, they're not even really a company. It's just more of a name of Sonic.
They're multi-platform. They don't know what they are either.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Well, that being said, that's kind of like the only true history that I could think of anything else for Sega, as their uprise and their slow downfall, and they're still striving today. I don't know what their future plans are, except for this smartphone deal or idea, but it can either be a good thing or a bad thing. What do you think?
The mobile game is kind of a tricky game. A lot of people are trying to get their hands in it, and there's the thing that I don't like is free-to-play games. I really don't like free-to-play games, so I know they'll probably go down that route, but I don't think they should. It's money cash now. It's a money grab, and Nintendo, I know, is going down the same road, but it's the games on mobiles are kind of fun, but if they're money grabs, kind of turns a lot of people off.
Yeah.
So if Sega goes down that road and they don't do this right, they will fail completely. And same with Nintendo. I know they're coming out with their next generation, and they better get that right, because they're going down the toilet as well if they don't do that right. But probably, to be honest, Nintendo will succeed in the mobile devices, because, well, lots of people want that anyways. They have emulators, they have games that they want, and yelling at them. Same with kind of Sega games too. We want these on mobile because they're great games to pick up and go. And so they're doing it. Hopefully they don't fail.
Hopefully. We don't know. We can only just look and wait for whatever happens next. As for that, I think that would wrap up pretty much what we have so far of the history. But viewers watching, what do y'all think? Y'all think this whole let's go to smartphone idea a good idea or a bad idea? Or do you think they should actually, stop snorting the crack and get off their tails and actually make another system?
Yeah, let's hope they do something right, because they're in the gutter for right now, and it's not a good place to be.
No, it's not. Well, that's about it, but thanks for being on the episode, man.
Yeah, man, no problem. It was a lot of fun, going back in the day and talking all about the games and the systems and what we did with them and what they did with their own careers.
We can only hope for the future. That's what I always say. But with that, I'm the Atomic Gamer, and he is
Chaos Prophet.
And we'll see you next time. Go check him out. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description.
Thanks, guys. And, of course, Atomic Gamer will be in my description down below. So, thanks. Thanks for having me.
All right. And peace.